The Bank of Ghana, Cocoa Board, and commercial banks have agreed to allow banks to use Cocoa Board's deposits and placements at the various banks to pay retail customers who may not want a rollover of their cocoa bills. Well, this is coming after the Bank of Ghana directed banks not to pay customers their maturing cocoa bills investments following cash flow challenges facing Cocoa Board. There is more in this report.
In a statement, the central bank said it expects these short-term cash flow challenges facing Cocoa Board to be resolved soon to enable the cocoa regulator meet its obligations to investors. According to the banking regulator, Cocoa Board has assured that the outlook for the 2023 crop season is good and that cocoa purchasing is ahead of last year. On Thursday, January 19, 2023, a 6-month cocoa bill with a face value of 940.42 million cedis matured. The Bank of Ghana went through the usual processes to reissue on behalf of Cocoa Board a new 6-month cocoa bill to raise funds to cover the maturing obligation, but unfortunately the auction failed and was severely undersubscribed, resulting in a shortfall of 855.42 million cedis. However, at a meeting on Friday, January 20th, among the banks, Cocoa Board and the Bank of Ghana, it was agreed that all institutional investors will roll over their maturing cocoa bill. Financial institutions therefore agreed to roll over their cocoa bills investments.
Let's have a better appreciation of this developing story, and we have financial economist Professor Lord Mensah of the University of Ghana joining us via Zoom for more on this matter. Good afternoon, Professor Mensah, and welcome to the marketplace. Now, did the Bank of Ghana err in rolling over cocoa bills, you would say?
Yes, I mean, they did. There has been a statement that has been issued by the Bank of Ghana itself, and clearly shows that, cocoa bills that were maturing within the 6 months of subscription has been, rolled over. Clearly, cocoa bills are institutional investors package, which under normal circumstance does not need to be trickled down to individual, i.e., not to be a bond that is supposed to be retailed. But then some of these banks, find a way of, retailing it, selling it to individuals. And I'm not surprised the happenings that by force, rollover. Yes, whatever happens in one part of the financial space has a tendency of spilling over into another space. I've had few instances where, some colleagues ask me what will happen to the government, cocoa, bills. My response was that cocoa bills are contingent on cocoa inflows. And as a result of that, I don't expect anything to happen to, that space. But then looking at what happens, obviously, we're anticipating that if government should make any attempt to float, any bonds which is tied to cocoa bond, they'll find it difficult to raise money because the understanding of the financial system is not appreciable now, and as a result of that, it is expected that whatever is happening in the bond market would definitely affect cocoa markets because the investor community does not really understand what the cocoa bills, stands for. And over the years, clearly, government has been raising, cocoa bills at even higher coupon than has been raising bonds at higher coupons than the cocoa bills, which gives you certain levels of assurance that people have in the cocoa bills. But it looks like, this time that assurance has waned or completely gone down. And all these are things that should signal you that we are gradually getting to a point where the trust in the financial system is going down completely. Because if you have anything to complain of, the least one should be of the cocoa bills, which usually the coupon payments are contingent on the cocoa inflows. And as far as the cocoa will have the market, obviously we shouldn't have problem with paying, cocoa bond coupons when they mature.
I was trying to find out how significant this directive from the Bank of Ghana will be to to use the cocoa proceeds, basically, or deposits to pay retail customers. How significant is that?
Yeah, it is significant because, we should understand that some of the banks can take on unnecessary risk by subscribing bonds that are more than the deposit of cocoa board that are with them. So when it turns up like that, then we may have to, the banks may have to sacrifice more beyond, those subscriptions. So it depends on the type of bank. And I know, these are the government-oriented banks. And we're talking about, I don't want to mention names. I'm looking at banks that have, a strong representative of government on them. So effectively, yes, there's going to be impact in there as far as the bank's liquidity is concerned.
Now, there are fears that this development is likely to hamper our future cocoa syndication loan and, of course, floating of bonds, cocoa bonds. How true is that? And if it is, what can we do to manage that?
Yes, cocoa bills is more or less a quasi, kind of government bond, because whatever the case may be, the control of cocoa board itself is government oriented, the board composition and everything. So if you understand the investment space very well, whatever is happening, there is a tendency that government may even divert funds that are related to cocoa bills to other obligations. So if you are an investor and you're looking at this holistically, then it should affect your decision in investing in, cocoa board. But if it is managed very well, to some extent, if assurance is given that cocoa bills, the coupons are tied to cocoa proceeds, we shouldn't have this problem. Other than that, the investor community will still be in a dilemma as to what the cocoa bills stands for.
How do you foresee things playing out in the cocoa industry following this development?
Yeah, obviously, the cocoa cratchie or the cocoa, what do you call it? The cocoa cratchie is sitting somewhere in the village. We'll be expecting his funds. And once there's a delay, looking at what is happening in the financial space, they will tie it to, the likelihood of government not being able to pay, cocoa business, operators and all those. So if we don't take care, people will start diverting their attentions to other commodities. And I know there are competing commodities in the agriculture space, looking at coffee and all those that people, these cocoa farmers can jump on. So we have to be careful and manage the situation well. We know cocoa is one of the spines as far as this economy is concerned.
Now, in a related development, the Bank of Ghana has disclosed that it has reached an agreement with commercial banks for individual bondholders of cocoa bills to be paid on maturing papers this week. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we need to look at it carefully. And if cocoa bills are purely institutional investment type of bills, then by extension, some of these banks were playing kind of illegality to raise money to come and buy the bonds. And I'm looking at what the Bank of Ghana will do to them. We know that if you fought in the space, obviously you need to be penalized. So we need to be careful and get this things in the right direction.
Professor Lord Mensah, grateful joining us on the marketplace with your perspective on the subject matter. We are indeed grateful.